Okay, sorry for the interruption. So let's see where we are. So have the start signal go high for one clock cycle, and that's going out to the music machine. And then this particular design waits for the music machine to say, okay, I'm finished with my music. Now you can go look for another doorbell being pushed. And that's what this done signal is. The done signal is actually coming from the music machine. So this machine right here sends out a start signal and then just sits there and waits for this other machine out here to send a signal back to say, yeah, I'm done. Okay. The other specification for this machine is that it can't send out a new start signal unless the button has been released. And we'll add to make the design a little bit easier, say that it has to be released after sometime after the done signal has come. So if the person pushes the button, then releases it, and then pushes it again before the done signal comes, that won't count as a release. The done signal has to come, and the person has to release it and then push it again to have it send another start signal. So here it is waiting for that done signal, then gets a done signal, and then it waits for the button to be released. So if the button's still pushed here, then it will sit here until the button is released, so not button. Then it'll go back and it'll start looking for another button push and go through the whole cycle again. And the music player is a little bit different, and there's a couple of numeric things we have to explain here. The clock on your Xilinx board runs at 50 megahertz. So a clock on your Xilinx board runs at 50 megahertz. So that is 5. Okay, that's a lot of cycles per second. What we're going to do on the music player side, or what this program does on the music side, isn't music, just because that was too complicated for this example, but it's a buzzer. And it's pretty simple to make a buzzer using digital circuitry. Our ears, see, not that one. Our ears have a pretty wide range. I think, it has somewhere from 10 to 15 hertz all the way up to, they have it up to 16,000, but I've heard higher than that. So your ears can hear, well, people with working ears can hear this whole range. It's easy to lose the stuff on the end. Right in the middle here, not quite right in the middle, but the middle C on the piano, that's at about 250 hertz according to this diagram. So that's what we're going to aim for. We're going to send out a square wave out of our music circuit at 250 hertz. Okay, so we're aiming for 250 hertz. Oops. We're aiming for 250 hertz, whereas our clock on our Xilinx board is running at 50 million. So we have to come up with a way to get our 250 hertz. And what you can do is, I have this 50 million hertz right here. If you divide this by 250, you get that. If every 200,000 clock ticks of this clock right here, you start a new cycle, then you will get 25 hertz. So if every time this clock ticks 200,000 times, you start a new cycle right here, that means you will get a signal of 250 hertz. And if that doesn't make sense, ask people or come talk to me. So So now what we're going to do is we're going to make a circuit down here that counts 200,000 clock ticks and then starts a new cycle. If you notice, we're talking about outputting a square wave, and from here to here, that's going to be 200,000 clock ticks. But you notice right in the middle here, we have to change the value of this square wave. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to count 100,000 clock ticks, and every 100,000 clock ticks we are going to change the output. So it'll be 1 for 100,000 clock ticks, and then 0 for 100,000 clock ticks, then 1 for 100,000 clock ticks, and 0 for 100,000 clock ticks, and that's going to give us our square wave. Okay. I imagine there's some questions at this point, but unfortunately with the video, you can't answer them. So let's go down and look at our music player state transition diagram, and this is more than a complete state transition diagram. Gives you a kind of a description of the system, and I'll tell you why in a second. Okay, so here's our start state. Here's our start state right here, and we just sit there. We don't buzz. We don't play any music until we get a start signal. So right here is the not start. It stays there as long as the start signal is 0. Then when start signal goes to 1, it goes to, I should have a question mark after this. It goes to the state called 250 cycles, and if it's not 250 cycles, in other words, one big point I didn't make. The other specification that I'm going by is that the buzz lasts for 1 second. Okay, and if we are making a buzz that's at 250 hertz and we want it to last for 1 second, that means we have to do 250 cycles, because a hertz is 250 cycles per second. So we have to do 250 cycles to have the buzz last for 1 second. So here's counting the cycles. That's one of these. Okay, so this says, have you had 250 cycles? No. Then go over here and count 100,000 while outputting 0. And then when 100,000 is passed, now output 1 for 100,000 cycles. Okay, and the thing that makes this kind of more a description of your state transition diagram than a complete state transition diagram is we haven't described where we get these signals. In a real system that you were making out of hardware, you'd have to have circuits that generated these signals. So we'd have to have a circuit that generated, has this gone through this state 250 times? Or has it gone through this state 100,000 times? We'd have to have another circuit over here that generates those. So this is this should give you an idea of what's going on, rather than give you the complete state transition diagram. And we will actually next week do an example where there's external circuits that are generating these signals, this 100,000 and this 250. Okay, but the idea is that it looks and sees if it's done 250 of these, in other words, has 1 second passed, and then if 1 second hasn't passed, then you go and you do another cycle here. So you do 100,000 cycles of 1, and then 100,000 cycles of 0, and then go down here and do 100,000 cycles of 1, and then you count up your 250 here one time and say, oh, is it 250 now? Oh, not yet. Okay, let's do another cycle here. And this square wave right here will sound like a buzzer for you, and we'll actually do that in class. First thing we're going to do next week is make buzzers. So bring your Xilinx board, bring your power, whatever you need to power them. I guess the new ones, the new Nexus 2s are powered off of computers, huh? So bring your laptops if you can. I'll bring mine, but everyone try to bring your Xilinx board. If you have an external power supply for your Xilinx board, you still need to hook it up to program it, but we'll try to make enough groups there to make it worthwhile. Okay, so that's the idea. Got a doorbell circuit that sends out a start signal to a music playing circuit that when it gets that start signal, it does 250 cycles of a square wave to create a buzzer at middle C. Okay, goodness, I really feel like are there any questions?